What is good, YouTube? Quinlay basketball analysis coming to y'all with a quick video. We're gonna talk about the Clippers who just got past the Mavericks versus the Jazz who got past the Memphis Grizzlies in five. Both teams are very team oriented. Both teams are very wing and guard heavy, and they are 3-point oriented too. I think that this is something that's going to be interesting, just like in the Mavs game, who others are going to step up and who will play the better defense. I liked it what the Clippers really did against the Mavericks, but they can't really do it against the Jazz because the Jazz just have more consistent 3-point shooters and their guys can attack off the dribble also. They're not just guys that are just going to shoot threes and that's it. They're going to mix it up like Donovan Mitchell, like Bogdanovich can put the ball on the floor, hit a free throw. Hit a mid ranger. Also, you have guys like Royce O'Neal that's been smacking threes like crazy. You can't leave him open either. Mike Conley can also do things like float, hit threes, can dribble and step back into a three or do it off the dribble or come off a screen. It's going to be a problem also because Gobert is going to be anchoring that defense. You've seen a lot in the Mavs series that even though they had Boban, even though they started Porzingis too for a lot, they still got to the basket a whole lot or got to the free throw line. They're going to have to be that aggressive against Gobert because just like we've seen against the Grizzlies, you have to get him in foul trouble. He's going to try to block and contest everything, and you have to go at him to get him off the court because Derek Favors is a significant decrease in talent, but also in defense, and that will help the Clippers be able to space out the floor so that way they can drag him out and be able to get their drives to the basket more cleaner. And we've seen a lot of Kawhi playmaking ability. I think that's going to be huge for this team because he can score like the best of them. He has shown that throughout his career. Kawhi Leonard closed Game 6, and he's going to have to do that a lot more because I feel like he relied more on the others in Game 7 against the Mavericks. And even though he still has to do that, they have to be able to knock down shots and make plays also because they're going to probably double team and trap Kawhi because I don't feel like they have one guy that can defend him. And most guys that the Jazz play are just way too small for Kawhi Leonard. And even if they had a guy that they could throw at him, he's just going to switch it anyway and back him down or just shoot over the top just like he did against the Mavericks. And even though they had Luka, who is just as big and strong as Kawhi, he just couldn't keep up with the ball handling and couldn't stay in front of him. And Kawhi was able to make difficult shots anyway, because that's why he's a superstar. And that's what they do. Donovan Mitchell is going to be huge in this series because I think they're going to need his aggressiveness and his offense, his ability to come at you, his ability to be a score first guy is important. But we've seen this playmaking ability take a big step this year. And then a lot of it does have to do with the space that he's around. A lot of it has to do with the ability to see more because they didn't have those type of weapons because they had Rubio and those guys. Mike Conley can create his own shot. Like I said, the other ones can do it to a certain extent, and it just makes his job a lot easier. Jordan Clarkson is going to be the Morris. He's going to be the X factor for the Jazz in this series just because Jordan Clarkson does give them that extra burst when guys on the starting lineup is on the bench. He gives them that guy that attacks the paint, that can hit threes, that can create his own bucket, and he allows them to go small too even in the fourth quarter, which the Clippers like to do, as we've seen. They don't really like playing Zubac because he's not the greatest finisher. He's not the greatest defender. And obviously the Jazz will switch and put him on them and they'll go at him. Plus, you don't really want Gobert in the paint. You want him out of the paint because that's where he's best at. And Gobert has weaknesses guarding perimeter players, especially ones that can shoot and knock down mid-range shots. And that's what Paul George like to do, hit the jumpers or hit the three. And he struggles keeping the ball and he struggles finishing a lot. Kawhi Leonard is a little different, just another level up of a scorer, but he can't do the heavy lifting because the Jazz are a great team-centric team. They're going to continue to move the ball. They're going to continue to come at you, and it's just going to put a lot of pressure on a team like the Clippers. If you couldn't stop Luka, it's going to be tough to stop some of these guys when they all are making plays and they all are on the string offensively and defensively, and they can let it on you. The Clippers showed that they can get spurts where they can make some shots, but they also showed that they can get a little colder and a little stagnated, especially when those guys aren't really, taking efficient shots because a lot of them do chuck. Nicholas Batum is going to have to be better because he is a guy that is going to be a starter in this series to me again because he is a guy that allows you to be more switchy, and they don't really have a Luka offensively that you really are scared to put him on. Donovan Mitchell is a streaky type of scorer and a streaky type of shooter. Luka was real strong and really gave them matchup problems. I feel like the Clippers can throw a lot of their guys one-on-one on Donovan Mitchell and just live with the results. They couldn't really do that with Luka. That's why they had to trap him and double team him because he was able to be more dominant offensively. Donovan Mitchell showed throughout series that he can do it, but when the Jazz are healthy, he doesn't do it. Even though he is small and is an explosive guy, you will live with him taking jumpers and threes compared to a guy like Luka that torched them. But the Clippers still was able to win that series, even though Luka averaged over 35 points. They was able to slow him down in the second half, and I think that they would definitely try to do the same to Donovan Mitchell. Bogdanovich, he missed the bubble last year, and that made it easier for the Denver Nuggets to defend them. Now they can't, this guy can make threes. This guy can score 20, 25 points, especially if you don't pay attention to him or you help a lot or you collapse a lot. He can make you pay. Same with Royce O'Neal. And the Clippers did a lot of that living and dying with guys doing that. They're not going to be able to do that against a team like the Jazz because they will hurt you. We've seen Memphis make a lot of late rotations, be a little lazy, or not communicating, and the Jazz just kept piling it on them, and then they just couldn't be able to get enough going to win games. And the Clippers can find themselves in the same situation if they can't consistently communicate and defend, but also leave guys open. You do that against the Mavericks, they capable of beating you. They did it 3 times. You do that against the Jazz, you're going to be going home early. Honestly, Paul George is really going to have to step his offensive game up because I feel like he is a little wishy-washy. If his jump shot is going, he's deadly. If his jump shot is not, you'll live with any other shot that he takes. And that makes him a little bit more guardable and a little bit more containable. You can't do that with Kawhi Leonard, but you can definitely do that with Paul George. And with guys like Serge Ibaka not being able to play, I don't believe they're going to play Boogie. We don't really know what's going to happen with Beverly. We don't really know what's going to happen with the other guys that's not playing. Rondo had a couple good games, but he never really got going. It really wasn't even a part of their closing lineup like they thought that he would be. It was Reggie Jackson, and Reggie Jackson is going to have to step up and continue to knock down those threes because they'll live with it. The Mavericks live with it, and he was able to make them pay a couple games in a row. I will live with this still if I'm the Jazz. If you're shooting 35, 33 feet threes, I'm going to live with Reggie Jackson shooting those. And if he's smacking them, he's smacking them. But you would take that than having Kawhi Leonard score 45. If Reggie Jackson get 20, then he just gonna get 20. But with the Clippers bench being the way that it is, and Reggie Jackson and Nicholas Batum moving into the starting lineup, it makes them weaker. And that's why man has to continue to produce. He was huge in Game 7, and they're going to need him to continue to be able to balance out their offense with drives and being able to be a decent spot-up shooter while also being an aggressor in transition, trying to make things happen. I think that that's going to be important for them, especially if they're not going to play Zubac a lot. And, of course, Morris, he's going to have to consistently knock down threes. They're going to leave him open. They're going to live with that, too. But he made the Mavericks pay in crucial moments in this series against the Mavericks, and he's going to have to continue to mix it up, but also knock down the open threes that will be given to him. And if he does, the Clippers' offense will be tougher to defend. As I seen in Game 5, they mixed up the drives, they mixed up the passes, and they still sprinkled in some isolation of their best players. And it was a healthy diet that the Mavericks just couldn't, contend with consistently. And that was one of the biggest reasons why they couldn't win Game 7. This series will be not about Donovan Mitchell and Gobert. I don't think this series will be about Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. This series will be won based off who can make the threes. Who can make the threes? If the Jazz can continue to attack, pass, and punish the defense of the Clippers 3-point wise, they will win this series. If the Clippers can move the ball, let Kawhi do his thing like George do their thing, and smack down some threes if they wide open and hit some mid rangers from time to time, then it's going to be the Clippers that can probably win this series. But if I had to pick one or the two, I'm going to go with the Jazz. I think they play better defensively. I think they have a little bit more reliable weapons. And I think that even though I will say Kawhi Leonard is the best player in the series, and usually you just have the best player in the series and you live with that, they just have too many guys out, too many guys I can't really rely on, and just too many spurts where they look amazing and they don't. And I don't think you can do that with the Jazz when they're fully healthy. And I think the team way of playing, plus being a great defensive team with great perimeter players, and just not knowing what type of Paul George you're going to get every night, and same with the role players, I'm going to go with consistency. Consistency is key to success. And I think that the Jazz can be more consistent and they can score a little bit more efficient than the Clippers. And if they do that, plus continue to play great defense, they should be able to win this series in 6 games. And I got the Jazz winning. I'm a Kawhi Leonard fan. I'm a Kawhi Leonard believer. But this is a team sport. You need guys to step up. You need guys to make plays and make shots. I think the Jazz do that a lot more better than the Clippers, especially when they're healthy like they are. And with the Clippers missing so many guys and relying on a lot of role players to be bigger than what they are, and the Jazz being able to guard them and switch and live with the results, I think that'd be a little bit too much for how the Clippers are currently. If the Clippers was healthy, I'd pick the Clippers. But the Clippers just not that. And I don't think you can live off Reggie Jackson getting 20 points a game. I just don't see that. I don't see that being a healthy recipe to beating great teams. I looked at both of these teams as dangerous teams, but I didn't look at the Clippers and the Mavericks as championship teams as they are currently constructed at this point. And a lot of it just has to do with injuries with the Clippers. If they was healthy, like I said, I would have picked them, but they just not. So let me know what you guys think. Did I miss somebody? Is I'm overrating somebody? Is the Jazz overrated? Can they win? Can they stop Kawhi? How many games you have the Clippers winning in, how many games you have the Jazz winning in, and is I'm crazy for picking against Kawhi Leonard against a team like the Jazz, or is the Jazz just a better team like they have shown throughout the regular season and so far in the playoffs when they're healthy? Let me know what I got right. Let me know if I got wrong. I'll be back with my playoff reactions later tonight. Quinn Wade, Basketball Analysis signing out, and let me know what you think about this Jazz Clippers series and who you think is going to win.